can assure us Zambians are not disenchanted.
We think that the kind of development that we want should only be sourced from people we think are investors.
Wherever we want to go, our feet shall take us there. Days that come differently, and some of the things we encounter, sometimes it's difficult to tell apart what is real and what isn't. Sometimes we give excuses to some things because we can't understand them. But there are some things to which we have to take responsibility because they are self-spoken. They are things that are in black and white. I remember of an instance that could be in grey. It happened in 2016. That should have been in July, just a month before the tripartite elections of 2016, the general elections. And in that particular year, I was partying in the Lusaka Central elections. I was running as a member of parliament. So on that day, it was a Sunday, I just come from church and I realized I had a little time on my hands. And during that moment, when you have time, you need to use it wisely. So there's a place called Kangwanda that is in State Lodge, way in the outskirts of the city. And I called a few friends of mine and we rushed there to go and have our evening meetings with people that live in that particular locality. We reached there. Unfortunately, when we arrived, unlike the days we had been going there, we found people by the roadside. It's very unusual. You find people around that time inside the houses, but this particular time we found a lot of people because there, people only come together when there is something. Otherwise, it's very difficult to bring people together. But this particular day, we found people in one place. But before we could think much, we were told that people were by the roadside because there was a person who had gone missing about 2 weeks ago, and that particular day, his body had been found along the stream that comes from State House. There is a stream in that place. The body unfortunately had decomposed and he was hanging to a rope. I think it was suspected suicide. Being an aspiring MP, I actually had taken myself in a trap because that incident made people now have an opportunity to test me whether I was the kind that can deliver or that can't. And having been in that game, I really knew what they were expecting. So I had to rise to the challenge. I asked them, so what's the problem? They said, no, we don't have a coffin. And I checked on myself, I found actually I had 350 patches because you don't want to meet people without anything. So I carried a little just for water. But on that particular day, a serious need arose. So he said, okay, you don't have a coffee. I said, okay, it was Sunday, but we rushed to a next compound, which is Bowling. There are a lot of people. There are over 20,000 people and activities like coffee making and all these crafts happen every day. So we quickly ordered one, and we had a custom-made coffee made, I think, within an hour, and we rushed back. We had even hired a canter to go and ferry the body and take it to the mortuary. Luckily, we got there, there's still daylight because it was around 16. We reached where the body was. We had bought gloves, and the guys volunteered to carry the body, put it in our coffin, and they put it in our canter, and it was time for us to leave. But when it was time to leave, something unusual happened. The canter couldn't start. The man tried his tricks, the canter couldn't start. We decided to remove the body, put it down, he tried it, it started. The moment we put it back, it couldn't start. For once I was saying, okay, I've known most of these things are myths, but what's happening here? I saw the owner of the canter started shaking. And I told him, why are you shaking? He said, I've never seen such a thing happen. So in the end, he said, no, keep your money, let me just go back. He gave us back the money, and he left. We got another. This time we got a van. The van came, it went where the body was, said to put the body there, to start it, it failed to start. We noticed something unusual, even to a doubting Thomas, was happening. At that particular time, we decided to ask people. Unfortunately, I wish the people had told us. People already had known that there was a story behind that body. Apparently that man had gotten his gratuity from where he was working, and had gone in to live with his girlfriend, and the girlfriend stole his money, and rumor has it that he was poisoned and maybe taken there. So there were a lot of stories. And according to the people that live there, the body had refused to be buried. It was only until when we found transport from within that settlement that the body was moved and taken to its right place. It was late the time I went home, but then when I reached home, I wanted to tell my wife the story. I realized that indeed There are some things we cannot explain in this life, and they do not make sense. Even when I'm telling you right now, it cannot make sense. It's possible to have a mechanical fault repeat itself over and over under the circumstance. But having seen what happened on that day, I've come to learn that there are some things that can be explained and things that can't be explained so easily. That brings us to a conclusion and understanding that in life there are things we cannot understand and there are things we can understand. But on those things we can understand, we have a duty to provide a solution. Most of the problems that we have in this country are problems we can understand. They are not mythical. The unemployment that we see among the youth is not mythical. There are many case studies we can learn from others and see how have these problems been solved. Why are some problems only prominent within a certain catchphrase, within a certain group of people, and why are they not some found in other places? Why is the gap between the poor and the rich so wide in this country when it's not in some other places? It's because people were honest with themselves, with the things they understood and applied to themselves to find solutions. Let's forget the things we can't understand. Let's dwell more on things that we can understand. Our problems are real and they require real solutions. For instance, we should by now understand so well that making the youth drunk, buying them beer is not youth empowerment. But you see, most of the people that we respect, hold in high esteem, they're the ones that propagate these vices. And we, in the process, think that if we keep supporting them, they'll give us anything different. It doesn't mean if we, for instance, build a lot of schools, then more people will be in schools. Yes, it will help. But where we have moments where you create more infrastructure and then clip down on the ability of people to be in those infrastructure, then we expect the results to be positive. I can assure you, in that way, you're just making the strong stronger and the weak weaker. There are things that we can try to explain, use a lot of words and lie to people. Those we can leave them for another day. But there are things, there are problems in this country that we have. Things like poverty. We know these things cannot be taken away by making people drunk. They cannot be taken by giving people promises. They cannot be taken by us accumulating more at the expense of the masses. These can only be made possible if we make serious strides to create employment. We need to create factories. These youths that we have, they have got at least that ability to work. They are not helpless. They end up giving themselves up to some vices because there's no alternative. But if we made the opportunities for work available, there could be other motivation, things that preoccupy the youth because they know if they work, they'll get some money. And if they get some money, then they know they'll help their families and themselves. And in a way, you would have automatically gotten them off the street. But to try to take money on the street, make them feel happy and make them dependent on you, that definitely is not gonna help us get anywhere. Our problems are real and it's high time we don't mystify the problems. Let's make them plain, open, and let's reason together and find solutions, because wherever I want to go, only our faith shall take us. It's time we became honest and knocked at the right doors and did the right thing. Abash making the youth get drunk. There is more to empowerment than intoxicating us. There's a life, and that life for the youth needs to be respected. Respect this life, respect that life, because even you, the elders, you once were there. Had people made you drunk, dance, and wasted your lives, you wouldn't be there. You blame us, but today we blame you. Take responsibility, and together we'll make a better nation, because wherever I want to go, only our feet shall take us there. Thank you, and God bless you.